190 people drowned in the dark, including the heir to England's throne, and a single captain's choice made it inevitable. November 25, 1120. The white ship cuts through the English Channel at night, packed beyond capacity. On deck, William Adelin, 17 years old, the only legitimate son of King Henry I of England. Below him, water rises. The ship lists. There's no organized evacuation, no protocol, no time. William reaches for a small boat, but it's already overloaded with panicked nobles. He makes a choice. He'll wait. He never gets another chance. Now, rewind to the morning. King Henry I had just concluded a state visit in Normandy. He was 54, politically secure, wealthy, and had spent decades consolidating power after his older brother's death left the throne vacant. Henry had one priority: get home to England. He'd already arranged his passage on a reliable vessel. But his son William, impatient and aristocratic, wanted to travel with his own crew on a newer ship, the White Ship. The captain of the White Ship was a man named Stephen FitzStephen. He'd served Henry I before and had a reputation, one that made him confident, maybe too confident. When William's entourage asked to board, Stephen saw an opportunity: royal patronage, prestige, payment. He agreed, but he didn't count the passengers carefully. He didn't account for the extra cargo. He didn't reduce the crew or adjust the ballast. Here's what we know about Stephen's calculation. He had a ship that could carry maybe 50 people safely. He loaded roughly 190. His reputation said he was skilled enough to manage it. His past success, his prior voyages for the king, told him he'd handled worse. He was under pressure. A royal passenger meant money, meant status. The cost of saying no was social and financial. The cost of overloading, that was abstract, a theoretical risk. William Adelin boarded with his entourage, nobles, servants, and companions. Most of them couldn't swim. That wasn't unusual for the era. Swimming wasn't a survival skill for aristocrats, it was labor. The ship set sail around dusk. The crossing should have taken a few hours. The English Channel that night was calm. No storm, no freak weather. Just water, darkness, and a vessel riding dangerously low in the water. Somewhere in the crossing, witnesses later disagreed on exact details. The White Ship struck something. A rock, perhaps, a sandbank. The hull breached. Water poured in fast. Stephen FitzStephen's decision to overload the ship had erased any margin for error. The vessel had no buoyancy to spare. It couldn't absorb even a minor collision. Panic set in immediately. There weren't enough lifeboats. There wasn't time to organize anything. Nobles and servants scrambled for the few small boats available. William Adelin, the heir to England, managed to get into one, but it was already overcrowded. Someone fell in, then someone else. The small boat capsized under the weight. William went into the water. He couldn't swim. One passenger, a butcher named Berold, survived by clinging to wreckage. He was later rescued. Nearly everyone else died. William Adelin died. His sister died. His illegitimate half-brother died. The Countess of Puchet died. Nobles, attendants, crew, approximately 190 people total. Only Berold lived to describe what happened in the dark. King Henry I was already in England when he learned the news. His son, his only legitimate heir, the person he'd groomed for 2 decades to take the throne, was gone. Witnesses say Henry collapsed. Contemporary accounts describe him as nearly catatonic with grief. He'd built a kingdom, consolidated power, defeated rivals. And in a single night on a calm sea, a single decision unmade everything. Here's what Stephen FitzStephen had gambled on: that his skill would compensate for his negligence. That reputation was enough. That overloading a ship by nearly 4 times its safe capacity was just another calculated risk. He was wrong, and 190 people paid the price for his miscalculation. But the real cost wasn't measured in bodies alone. Henry I had no other legitimate male heirs. Succession law was murky. The death of William Adelin created a power vacuum that the king couldn't fill. For the next 16 years, Henry tried to secure the throne for his daughter, Matilda. It was an uphill battle against centuries of precedent. When Henry died in 1135, his cousin Stephen of Blois seized the throne instead. Matilda spent decades fighting for her claim. The result? A civil war called the Anarchy, nearly 20 years of conflict, instability, and bloodshed that destabilized England for a generation. All because a ship sank. All because one captain overestimated his ability to manage risk. Stephen FitzStephen was never held accountable. He drowned with his ship, along with most of the crew. There was no investigation, no trial, no reckoning. The White Ship simply became a story, a cautionary tale whispered in halls and chronicled by monks. A reminder that decisions made under pressure, with incomplete information, can reshape nations. The disaster wasn't caused by a storm or an act of God. It was caused by a choice. A captain chose to overload. A king chose to let his son travel separately. A young man chose to wait for a lifeboat that never came. Each decision made sense at the time with the information available under the pressures they faced. None of them were catastrophically wrong until they all collided at once. This is what makes maritime disasters different from other historical events. A battle can be replayed, strategy adjusted, A political decision can be reversed, but the sea doesn't negotiate, it doesn't offer second chances. The White Ship reminds us that sometimes the most consequential moments in history aren't shaped by grand strategy or military genius. They're shaped by a single person's judgment call in the dark. 190 people died on November 25, 1120. One heir to England's throne vanished. One captain's miscalculation became the hinge on which English history turned, and decades later the kingdom was still paying the price. The White Ship was never found. Its wreck lies somewhere in the English Channel, a silent monument to the cost of underestimating risk. Every maritime disaster we cover on this channel carries the same lesson. The sea is indifferent to your confidence, your reputation, or your rank. It only respects physics and preparation. The White Ship disaster cost 190 lives and destabilized a kingdom, all because one man thought he could bend the rules. Subscribe for more unsolved maritime mysteries and the hidden decisions that shaped history. Subscribe for more unsolved maritime mysteries and the hidden decisions that shaped history.